Hey everyone and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where it's time to take on the final coil of Bahamut. Turn 13, the hardest fight, arguably. While turn 12 has the hardest mechanics, turn 13 has the hardest hitting attacks. There's not too much to learn in turn 13, it just hits really frickin' hard. Restored to his senses in defeat, Louis uses his final moments to send our party to the main bridge of the final internment hulk, there to banish Bahamut once and for all. Yet though the end of our arduous journey is in sight, doubt not that the cornered primal will lash out with his unbridled rage. If we are to overcome this terrible foe, we and ours must be of one purpose: join now our hearts and minds and sally forth to bring the seventh Umbral era to its true conclusion for the future of Eorzea. Alright, we spent another couple of moments just talking about the fight before we got started, and let's get going. And as usual, this is post-commentary, so we were able to use voice chat to focus on the fight.
"'Twas a long and arduous road, but at last we reach its end. Farewell, Bahamut. I banish you back to the ether."
He is not yet whole. I did not think him capable.
Alize! Alize!
I had thought it finally over. Will not survive another blast. No. Is this how I honor my promise to Grandfather?
You must needs find your own reason to fight for this realm. Your own meaning in this sea of chaos. Will you do that for me?
I will, Grandfather. In fact, I believe I already have. That reason has been with me all along, guiding me. Eorzea's blade of light, shearing through endless shrouds of darkness. I have been shown the miraculous feats of which we are all capable, of which I am capable. Bahamut, you have wreaked enough havoc. I will not let your wrathful fires consume all that we know and love.
How long I have waited to hear you say that! You have found your resolve at last! Let me join my strength to yours. In this place, in this moment, our purpose has become one! future of Eorzea!
This last task is yours, Warrior of Light. You must destroy Bahamut's crystal core.
Alright, let's begin. We spent a few more moments just discussing the fight before we got started. I will say we did not manage to clear this thing. I'll show about 2, maybe 3 rounds of the fight, just to see, kind of show how it went. And we'll talk about the mechanics we were able to see, but we did not get to see the entire fight, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because we didn't even get to the really cool parts of the fight. Bahamut just hits really freaking hard. As usual, the notes I'm going to be reading come from the Console Games Wiki, which are adapted, I believe, from MTQ Capture's video guide. I want to say they're adapted from that video guide. I'm not actually entirely sure. I can say I'm reading them directly from the Console Games Wiki. So this fight has a hard 14-minute enrage, so we need to beat it before the 14 minutes are up in a individual poll. There's only a few mechanics to worry about, but they hit very, very hard and tend to be followed with several sequential tank busters. So shielding, very good use of your abilities to mitigation, shields, heals to keep yourself alive, very important. There are no tank swaps in this fight, so tanks do not need to worry about that. You're gonna have one tank taking the brunt of the damage, and they're gonna have to do everything they can to not die. So, first mechanic to look out for, Flare Breath, is a large frontal cleave on the main tank. This is why we're going to be pointing the boss, well, away from the party, as usual. You never ever point the boss at the party in any fight, because there's always going to be a cleave tank buster. Flare Breath will usually follow other mechanics. And yeah, no, it hits really freaking hard. It took a little bit also just to get me back into the habit of playing Warrior. Mega Flare. 3 to 4 players are marked with ground AoE that will go off in a few moments. 3 to 4 other players will get a small, blue swirl around their bodies for just a brief moment before they will explode with splash damage AoEs. So we need to be spread out for Mega Flare to make sure that we don't get actually hit by those splash damage AoEs. And then 2 to 4 other players are marked with a, spinning marker around their body that will let them know, hey, you should probably stack together in order to survive the next hit. Those people get hit by a beam from the sky, and the damage is split between them. If they're stacked together, they'll be safe. If they're spread out, they will die. If anyone who's not marked for that attack is in the stack, they will die. We have the people who are marked for that beam from the sky. They will stand at marker A. Mega Flare is followed by a single Flare Breath. To solve Mega Flare, we just spread out so none of us stack to accidentally hit each other with the splash damage. And then once the markers have appeared, the people who are being marked for the stack attack need to move to A. Next attack to look at, Flatten, is a very heavy damage tank buster. You need to mitigate, and you need to have shields, and it's followed by 3 casts of Flare Breath. So, you gotta really heal through that. Honestly, might almost be worth using your invulnerabilities as a tank, and then tank swapping just so that you can alternate who has their invulnerabilities ready to go. It hits hard. And then the last mechanic in Phase 1 is Earthshaker. 2 players will be tethered to the boss and marked with round tethers. After a short delay, the tethered players will have a line fired at them that hits anything between them. They will also drop 3 puddles each. To handle this, players who are tethered should move to the left and right of the boss. We're using markers 1 and 2 for this. And slowly move around the edge of the arena to avoid cleaving the party, and also drop the puddles around the edge. The puddles persist, so it's very important that we keep them on the edge away from people, and with that we don't stand on them. The phase will just repeat like that until it hits 76% HP. At that point, the boss will cast Giga Flare, which is a raid-wide attack. You need to mitigate and heal through it. And then we'll begin Phase 2. Phase 2 will begin with... let's hold off until we actually hit Phase 2 before I start explaining mechanics for that. Yeah, thankfully, most of the mechanics that are introduced in Phase 1 are going to be the bulk of the mechanics that persist throughout the fight. You will also note that I did not caption the music in this. It is a rendition of answers. I have captioned answers elsewhere, but more importantly, we didn't have a successful clear, so it didn't feel right to give us the musical captions, because that's kind of what I do for our successful synced clears, and we didn't do that, so... Yeah, you can see those puddles from the Earthshaker all over the place. And we're gonna die. Those markers right there over their heads, I think... Yeah, those were the markers for Earthshaker. Alright. Now, this next attempt, I believe, brought us all the way up to Phase 3. So, yeah, we'll go through Phase 1 again. I'll just explain mechanics again as we go through them. Or actually, I'll point out mechanics as we go through them. Oh yes, and we also elected at this point to set up light parties. Unfortunately, we only barely started getting to the point where light parties were important. Light parties are relevant for Phase 3. But you're gonna want to know which light party you are in for the sake of Phase 3, as well as for 2 things in Phase 3. There's gonna be dive bombs, and there's going to be Sins of Marasidia, and those are gonna require your light parties. We'll get to those when we get to those. Honestly, I don't think we're gonna get. I don't think we get far enough for the light parties to really matter all that much. Too many people end up dying. Spoilers, we're not gonna make it. I already said that. I already said we don't clear it synced. Also, another note, it is very important that the main tank tanks the boss at the south end of the arena. Traditionally, you tank bosses at the north end of the arena. For Bahamut, you want to tank at the south end, for reasons that will come up in Phase 2. It is also worth noting that the game expects you to tank at the south end of the arena, because when you beat the boss, the rewards and exit appear at the south end. When normally, rewards and exit appear at the north end, where you normally tank the boss. So yeah, the game wants you to tank at the south end of the arena. Alright, I think we're doing just a little bit more recap of a few of the mechanics for our own benefits. And let's get ready to begin. One of the big struggles we ran into with Mega Flare is, because of those ground AoEs that drop, we were sometimes having an issue where the ground AoEs would drop on marker A, and that would make it really hard for the people who need a stack to survive. I believe we just ended up having people spread out a little bit more. Like, you can see we are pretty spread out for this. And also have them try to stay away from marker A so that marker A doesn't get pummeled. But yeah, there's Mega Flare. It gets followed by 1 Flare Breath, which hits so freaking hard. You have to have a really good mitigation rotation as tank to survive this. It's rough. But yeah, after Flatten, which is the big smash you in the face AoE, tank buster, you get hit by 3 flare breaths. Now we have Earthshaker coming out. You can see Thaba and Dracera are moving around the arena, kind of trying to pack those puddles in tightly so they don't take up too much space. And to avoid accidentally cleaving the party can kind of stand kind of middle-ish, kind of clustered together to be out of the way of the lines there. But soon after, Earthshaker will be another Mega Flare, so they need to spread back out again when they can. I think I'm fucking up my Infuriates a little bit. I'm not a warrior, man. I'm gonna forgive myself for my mistakes, but I was definitely making mistakes, and it was definitely not helping. But this is also just a brutal fight in general. Phase 2! Once we hit Phase 2 with the cast of Giga Flare, 2 things will happen. 1, Shadow of Mirror City spawns to the north edge of the arena, or off-tank needs to take the Shadow of Mirror City and kill it. All DPS needs to focus on the Shadow of Mirror City. If you do not kill it fast enough, it will do a line attack that drops puddles, which are very annoying. Additionally, Flare Star will happen. These orbs will appear and tether to particular players. When the orbs hit a player, it will give them damage and a stack of a debuff. The more stacks of a debuff you have, the more in trouble you are for a later mechanic. So you want to intervene by claiming other people's orbs to try and make sure nobody has more than 2 stacks. Tanks can probably have 3 safely. But you're basically intervening to help each other to make sure only up to 2 people, people only get hit by up to 2 orbs at a time. Let's see. Those are the new mechanics. The Shadow of Mirror City ad will appear in multiple places around the arena, north, then southwest, then southeast. If Shadow of Mirror City gets too close to the boss, they will tether and become much more powerful and dangerous, so do not let the Shadow of Mirror City get too close to the boss. That is why we tank the boss at the south end, so that it is as far away from possible from every ad that can spawn. Because the first one spawns to the north end, the other 2 spawn in the south corners, but they can be pulled away. But if we held Bahamut at the north end, well, they'd tether immediately and we'd be in trouble. Let's see. Flare Star is followed by a Flatten, and then 1 cast of Flare Breath, and then Mega Flare. Mega Flare will start to spawn towers as well at this point. 1 person needs to stand in the tower in order to absorb it. If nobody stands in the tower, it does raid-wide damage and debuffs. It can be very dangerous. We need someone standing in those towers. And the last mechanic that appears in this phase is Rage of Bahamut. Deals more raid-wide damage, and the damage is increased for the more stacks of Suffocated Will you have, which is the debuff you get from orbs. Getting down to about 52%, we enter Dive Bombs. Twintania will appear! Twintania's here! We stack at C, and 2 markers will spawn. Markers will spawn above 1 person, a red marker. Wherever that person is standing at that exact moment, that is where Bahamut will dash to. Next, a green marker will spawn above another person. Wherever that person is standing at that exact moment, that's where Twintania will dash to. We stack in the middle so we know they go directly down the middle of the arena. We find where they're at, and we dodge appropriately. It is a very tough mechanic to coordinate. We actually have light party set up for this. 1 light party will dodge to the right, 1 light party will dodge to the left. Because after the dive bombs, there's a Mega Flare. Though for this Mega Flare, anyone who needs to stack will stack at C, just because that's a nice central location and we're going to be scattered everywhere. And then we move into ads phase. I'm not going to go too much into detail on the ads because we do not get far enough. Unfortunately, there's just, we were not quite able to recover. It is also worth noting we did not use our Limit Break 3 as a healer Limit Break 3. That is because there's a mandatory tank Limit Break 3. We can't use a Limit Break 3 for healing, or DPS. It is required that you save it for tanking. We'll get into that eventually though. We didn't quite get there in this fight. But yeah, it's brutal. So eventually we had decided we're going to go ahead and unsync it. We did a full 90-minute pull. That's about the farthest we got. We're going to unsync it just so we can move on and be done with binding coils. Turn 13 is on our revenge list. We will come back to clear it eventually, hopefully soon. And once we've cleared it, I'll try and upload it as a Sunday video, just at some point whenever we have an open space for Sunday videos. There's been a lot of seasonal events lately, so I have a lot of space. But yeah, that is the end. We did it. We're gonna go ahead and roll for loot, and then in just a moment, I'm gonna go ahead and cut back to present day. So I will go ahead and meet you back with present day me, and we will finish up the binding coils. So I'll cut ahead and see you later for that. Alright, unfortunately we could not clear it synced, but that's fine. We'll get back to it soon. Just people have time constraints. Couldn't spend all the time we needed to get the clear. It's a hard fight. It's not as mechanically complex as turn 12, but it hits a lot harder, so healers were struggling. We'll get the legit synced clear in due time, and it'll be a bonus episode. But for now, let's get out of here.
You did it! But one task remains. With this last coil disabled, there shall be naught left to bind Bahamut to this world. His beloved children will finally know peace. "'Tis done. He is truly gone." You knew, didn't you? You knew what Grandfather had become.
I was not certain, but from all I had gleaned, it seemed a distinct possibility. The scene people describe of the Battle of Cartano was one of unimaginable devastation, and 'tis through the combined prayers of the desperate and an abundant source of ether that primals are born. I merely put two and two together.
And you consider that a sufficient explanation? Well, however you stumbled across your theory, 'twas this revelation that made you wary of my attachment to Grandfather. You feared that in my obsession, I would fall under his primal sway. Is that why you decided to join us? To pull me back should I show signs of wavering?
Pray forgive me, sister. I wished only to protect you. Yet I see now that I needn't have doubted the strength of your conviction. May I ask you a question? What do you now intend to do with the truth you have uncovered?
Which particular truth was that, brother? The fact that desperate prayer gave rise to the primal phoenix? That this new god was responsible for setting Eorzea on the path to rebirth? Should such a tale become common knowledge, people would soon offer up their prayers in earnest. They would beseech Phoenix to complete the healing that was begun.
Yet as you and I know all too well, the very act of calling forth this savior would do more harm to the land than good. We cannot encourage such worship for this very reason. Were Grandfather forced to return as an ether-draining primal, it would undo all that he had worked to protect. Your abiding love for him was the key that unlocked the truth of the calamity. But keys may also serve to seal doors that were best left unopened. Let your love now guide your actions, and lock away deep inside the fate of both Grandfather and Bahamut.
Fear not, Alphino. I understand what must be done. The realm need not know the truth for it to be saved. That the Elder Primal is banished, to return no more. That is enough. Let us make our way back to the surface. Poor Oriange must be beside himself with worry.
And there we go. We are free of the binding coils of Bahamut. Yeah, I am sad that we didn't get declared synced, but again, like, we only had a finite amount of time. I couldn't just wait until we finally cleared it synced. Who knows how long that could take? We need to keep the series going forward. But yeah, turn 9 and turn 13 are the only ones we had to unsync in order to clear. And we're going to go back and get revenge on them, hopefully pretty soon, actually. And once we've gotten our revenge on them, at that point, that will probably go up as bonus videos. That'll go up like for a Sunday video during in due time once there is a free Sunday for us to actually put that up. So then, next time on Final Fantasy XIV, I guess before we wrap up, I might as well open up the Dreadworm chest coffer, see our tank gear. Our tank chest gear. I'll have to grind out the rest of those soon, possibly like in the next day or so. That looks really good. Ooh, I really like that. Hang on, here, let's go into G-pose. Let's turn on some lights. That's not, okay, hold on. Is it R2 to stop animation? Here, wait, and perfect. Okay. I wish the sparkles weren't sparkling like that, but yeah, no, that looks really, really good. Oh, there's even a wing. There's even a wing on that. I love that. Alright then. Yeah, next time on Final Fantasy XIV. We'll get you those synced clears of turn 9 and turn 13 in due time, once there's a free Sunday to upload those, and once we've actually done it. But for now, next time, we're going to talk to Alize and Alphinaud, and we're going to finish up the Binding Coils quest line for good. I'll see everyone next time for that.